Yeah, it's okay. There we
All
are.
right. Hi, everybody.
Hey, everyone. What time is it? It's 4:29. We're
4:29.
almost up to the time. This is the pregame show here. We like to start a minute or two early. It's kind of weird too, because it actually takes a minute. There's like a 30 to 60-second lag between when we talk and when Facebook hears us. You know, I don't know what
There certainly is.
they're bouncing the signal off the moon or something. I don't know. It's like,
Absolutely. Well, Dad, how's it going over there with you? Oh, never mind. 4:30, our official start time. Are we good to start?
We are good to start. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to, what number is this, Sam?
Lucky number 13 of our Happy Half Hours.
This is the 13th time we have done the Happy Half Hour, and we have people I know who have been here for most of them. If you know how many times you've been here, go ahead and type it in, and we'll see. Wonder who has the best record,
I see that Cindy and Nadine are here. Hi, ladies. And for those of you who are new joining us, because of the way that Facebook works, we cannot tell that you're here unless you type in the comments. So if you want to say hey, and we have our wonderful director of client events, Amy. She's kind of moderating the chat down there. So she makes sure that we see everything that y'all put in there.
Yeah, you don't know that, but Amy behind the scenes is what makes all this work. We're just actors, and she's the play director, and
Yeah,
I see Martha is here, and Miranda is here.
And William, hi. Well, Dad, what are y'all drinking? What are you drinking today? Are you just drinking your normal tea?
I'm drinking my normal tea that doesn't look like tea, but honestly, this is herbal tea. But fear not, I will make up for it later. Trust me. It just.
Well, I put it in a to-go mug to keep it cool out here, but I'm drinking some French white wine. It's like a Sauvignon Blanc.
You've got to change of venue. What are you doing outside?
I do have a change of venue. So for I'm having some work done on my house. So my husband and I are displaced right now. And luckily, some of our close friends were kind enough to let us use their condo for the week. I don't know if you can hear it, but you may be able to see it back in the glass. I do have a really beautiful view of the ocean. We're here on a condo in Carolina Beach. So I'm sitting here. We tried to turn it around the other way, but then you just couldn't see my face, but I'm watching some surfers and the waves, and it's beautiful. The other cool thing is if you've been here a few weeks, you may have noticed that I typically have a plant behind me. I love house plants, and I like to just incorporate them.
It's like every week she gets another one or two house plants,
I do. It's really excellent. But today, Zach loves house plants and has a really cool collection. So I'm sitting out here with his bird of paradise that you can see. And then I wanted to show y'all, this is, so you see how it's different colors? That is called variegation. So this is a Philodendron burl marks, and it's variegated. So it has all the different colors in it. So
I would have called it splotchy, but what are you going to do? Variegation. Too many syllables for describing a plant,
Yeah. So, well, I'm having a blast here, surrounded by new and exciting plants, getting to be by the ocean. So
I think we've also got William and Bill, and I think we've got Martha already. James is here. Nina's here.
Hey,
Rick
Nina
is here.
and
Rick and Martha must be here. Kay is here.
Thanks, Kay. We appreciate the compliment.
William, we've got. And you know what day today is, Sam?
What day is today?
Today is National TV Dinner Day.
Oh.
Now, if you are one of those people like me, if you can remember one or two things, I want you to type into the chat that you can. Do you remember, TV dinner trays where you'd have like a rack of 4 or 6 trays that you set up at your chair? They kind of folded out. They're usually steel, And do you remember that? And two, do you remember when TV dinners came in those aluminum foil containers and you actually had to put them in a real oven to heat them up? And it's like the dessert and the mashed potatoes, one would be overdone or underdone. You could never get the two things coming together. I just want to see how many people go back that far. I remember sitting as a kid at TV dinner. We had a whole bunch of TV dinner trays. We sit there, and that's when you had to get up and change the channels, you know, and you had like 3 channels to choose from, you know, unless you figured out how to use that UHF knob, you know. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if anybody else remembers that.
Yeah, that was all before my time.
Yeah,
all
the
before my time.
kids these days, remote controls, microwaves, you know, carefully constructed dinners, yeah, you know, just a whole different world.
Yeah.
Whole different
We also have Ed. Hey, Ed, I'm actually on your island right now. I hope you're enjoying the, you know, the unusually nice weather that we're having.
JP and Eric are here.
Yeah, and Jay and Carter. Hi, y'all.
Hey, Jay and Carter.
And Teresa, Amy's mom, is on with us today, and Ed. Did you say hi to Eric and Brad?
I think I said hi to Eric and Brad. It's kind of we're catching them as fast. And the Barb is here up in the mountains.
And Kathleen.
Murphy.
Bob and Val here, some of our wine winners.
Dan is out hunting instead of, well, he can watch the rerun. He can watch the rerun. Hope he brings home some protein, you know?
Well, Dad, what are we talking about today?
Well, today we're talking about, in a sense, this gentleman here. Do you know who this gentleman is?
Well, I do now because we recorded our bomb earlier this morning.
That's right. And who is this guy?
William Roth.
William Roth. And William Roth spent, like, I don't know, I could dig up all the detail. 30, 40 years he was in Congress, a senator and a congressman from Delaware. And he was one of those guys, hated taxes. It was an interesting history. If you look at his Wikipedia page, he was kind of all over the place in what he voted for and didn't vote for. But one of the things he did is he created the Roth IRA. He was the primary sponsor, I think, back in 1997 or so. And the Roth IRA, of course, is a place where you can put money and you pay the tax going in, but then it grows tax-free forevermore, and you can take it out tax-free. And
well, dang, Dad, why don't we put all of our money into Roth IRAs?
Well, usually because sometimes when you're working, the idea is while you're working, you may be in a higher tax bracket than you will be when you retire. So you want to put it in a high tax bracket and take it out as a low. But once you retire, and sometimes even while you're working, it may make sense to put money into a Roth IRA. But you know, there's some misconceptions there. There's a belief that, wow, I'm better off putting it into a regular IRA because I got more money there working for me and I'll have more money in the end.
Well, yeah, you would think so. You would think so. I mean, if you have more, you know, you have more in there and it grows faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess that's what we're about to learn today, isn't it?
That's what we're going to learn today.
Yeah, I find people have really been enjoying learning more about taxes and Roths and really ways to prepare in the long term on a macro level as to how to reduce their total tax burden.
Yeah, I mean,
so this is exciting today.
In most of the world, all you hear about are investments. And, you know, when it comes to investments, we have as good a money managers as there are. But when it comes, few people talk about taxes, and a lot of people can probably have a bigger impact on how much money they and their spouse and their kids and their grandkids get to spend by optimizing their taxes, doing tax strategies, and they can try to eke another % or 2 out of the market. Absolutely. So let's go and look at that. I am going to go and switch to my whiteboard camera, and we're going to bring up the whiteboard today. And Sam, you're going to go out, and hopefully, if all has gone well, you now see me here in front of the whiteboard.
Well, Lois and Dan are here too.
Oh, hey,
Russell, Jean, and Deb. Uh, and a lot of people are having a lot of memories about the TV dinners.
yeah, I saw one person said Swanson TV dinners. I remember. I think Swanson had the market or something. Just goes back to you when you were a kid, you know? That was a
Absolutely.
big treat. Watch Gunsmoke in front of the TV or now. I was like, you know.
All
Um,
right, Dad. Well, I'll let you get on with it.
okay. So what earns more, a regular IRA or a Roth IRA? Okay. So to illustrate this, we're going to once again bring into play a fictitious couple to help us. And this couple, her name is Bonnie and his name is Clyde. Okay. And
Ooh,
both
Bonnie and Clyde.
Bonnie and Clyde, you know.
Causing trouble.
Both Bonnie and Clyde retired with $100,000 in their IRA. Okay, they each had $100,000 in a regular IRA. They put it in there before tax, and they're going to pay the tax when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Now Bonnie says, "Hey, I want to get the taxes out of the way early." So what Bonnie does is she takes and she pays $25,000. Oh, I forgot to mention, the tax rate for everything is 25%. We're just going to keep it simple and say if you take the dollars out, you'll pay 25%. A 25% marginal rate on the next dollar is not an unreasonable rate. So they're all going to pay 25%. Bonnie takes 25,000, gives it to the tax man, and she's left with $75,000 in a Roth IRA. So that's what she's got. Now we come over here to Clyde. Clyde says, yeah, there's no way I'm going to give the IRS that money now. I'm going to keep it in my IRA. So as it grows and grows and grows, I know I'll have more money there and more money to spend in retirement. Okay. So he leaves the money in the IRA instead of converting to a Roth. So let's say the years go by and over many, many years, both of them double. They both get twice as big. Okay. Mm-hmm. So their money doubles. If we look at Bonnie now, her 75 grows by 2 times. So she now has $150,000 in her Roth IRA. Okay.
Okay.
Now, Clyde here, he has his $100,000 also doubles. So he now has $200,000 in his IRA. And it seems like to start it, Clyde was right. He's got more money.
Well, yeah, 200,000 is more than 150,000. So it's,
seems
gotta
to
be a better deal.
Seems to make sense. But what does Clyde have to do to enjoy that money? He's got to take it out and pay the tax.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And if you think about it, if the tax is 25%, well, on $100,000, the tax would be $25,000. On $200,000, the tax would be $50,000. So he's going to have to take and give the tax man $50,000, and he gets to keep the rest. Well, guess what? 200 minus 50 is $150,000.
Oh.
He's got the same amount of money as Bonnie. Well, it has to do with something like the commutative property of multiplication, one of those things we learned back in 7th or 8th grade, And what actually happens is when you leave the money in there, you you're growing the tax man's money for the tax man, and you're growing your money for you. She paid 25,000 in tax. In his case, he didn't, so it doubled now to 50, and his 75,000 he could have kept, double to 150. So
Yeah, but if it's going to be a wash anyway, then why not wait to pay the taxes? How do
well,
you choose which one to do?
that's a good question. Well, here's the answer. What would happen if in the years to come, in the years and years and years this was growing, the tax rate went from 25% to 35%?
Oh.
Now, when he goes to take it out, he's got to take out an extra 10%, or he's going to take out an extra $20,000 in tax. And how much is that going to leave him to spend? Well, it's now up to, he now only has 130,000.
Oh, that's not as good as the
Not
150,000.
as good.
No.
Bonnie still has 150, because if taxes go up, she doesn't care, because her money is now growing tax-free forevermore. If she leaves it to her kids, her grandkids, it's also tax-free. So she's locked in this 25%,
Yes.
and forevermore.
So I get that. You're locking it in. If you think that potentially your tax rate could be higher later, it's good to lock it in at that lower rate.
Well, here's a question for you, Sam.
Okay.
Do you see anything on the horizon that might mean we'll have higher taxes?
Well, I mean, not first, by law, they're going to go up.
That's right. In 2018, we had the tax. 2018, we had the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. We cut the tax brackets for most people. The 15% bracket went to 12, the 25% bracket went to 22, the 28% bracket went to 24. So we cut taxes, but we didn't cut spending. So by law, those tax breaks have to sunset. And if Congress does nothing, which is something Congress is pretty good at, they will go away on January 1st, 2026. So in 5 years, taxes are going to go up by law. So there's one reason to think. Do you know any other reasons?
Well, the virus.
The virus. In case you haven't been following the news, we have been printing money like mad. We have been going into debt to basically save our economy from the virus. And boy, I think it was just this week or last week, we announced that the debt in the United States is now about equal to the gross national product. I mean, the amount of money we generate every year is about equal to our debt. That we have not been this bad since World War II.
Wow.
And in the 1950s, tax rates went through the roof. The highest marginal bracket, which today is 37%, went up to 94%. Back then, if you made more than $100,000 a year, everything above 100, you paid 94% tax on. An interesting story I often tell in the classes is there was a guy making movies back then. He was a was an okay actor. And later on, if he earned more than 100,000 a year, 94% went to taxes. He made 50 grand a movie. He never made more than 2 movies a year because it just would all go to taxes. And later on, he went into politics and he hated taxes, and he worked to cut taxes when he went into politics. And I suspect many of you have guessed by now that was Ronald Reagan. So that's just another story. So we're going to have to pay off all this money we're printing and have been printing. There's a third reason too for many people. Do you know what, Sam? Do you know what that reason is?
Well, are Bonnie and Clyde married?
Bonnie and Clyde are married. I don't know if they're as happily married as I am with Sandy. And I don't know if they're as good at making babies as we have been, make such talented, babies, but they're married. And if you are out there married, the odds are one of you will die first. Usually us guys crap out and the ladies go on for years and years and years. What happens when one spouse dies? What's the other spouse do, Sam?
They have to file singly.
They file singly. When your spouse dies, you kind of get a year where you can file jointly, but then you're a single taxpayer. And we've probably done this in the past 13 weeks, but the taxes on single taxpayers, and those of you who are single watching can probably testify, are a lot higher than the taxes on joint taxpayers. So that IRA, if you pass it on to your spouse when you die, is going to be even taxed at an even higher rate. With the Roth conversion, you were able to lock in the rate. So this is a little bit the story of Bonnie and Clyde and what earns more. In fact, just because you have more money in the pot doesn't mean you'll necessarily have more money to spend. It depends on what you put it in at, and what you take it out at. And for many people, it's probably going to be less money. So you want to get over the idea that, the more money I have in there. I often preach to people in classes, when you see your IRA, you need to realize that you jointly own it with the IRS. They got dibs on a portion of it. And
they're the worst kind of business partner because they can change the terms at any time.
Yeah, we came across a new term this past month, a new risk. You want to tell them what that risk is, Sam?
Oh, I don't know. You gotta remind me.
It's legislative risk.
Oh yeah, well, I knew that.
We all face legislative risk where they can change the law. And IRAs particularly are sitting ducks because they can have a separate set of rules for IRAs, and they do now. The taxes that come out when can't take it out to 59 and a half, and now you got to take it some out at 72, and you could do a lot of things with it. So again, another little lesson on taxes and IRAs and Roths, and I hope this was illuminating to some, helping you see things that maybe you didn't see before that aren't obvious. And by the way, I should mention, if we often have people on we've never met, that are kind of guests here and seeing us for a few times. If you want us to sit down and talk and look at maybe your situation, and when I say sit and talk, I'm talking over Zoom or a phone call. You've got information on the website here and information on the email where you can call or email us and set up even a 15-minute phone call with Sam or I. Let's just talk about what this means to you, because a lot of people, it's kind of haven't been presented before. Mm-hmm. So Bonnie and Clyde.
Another thing to note is that you can, if you watch this and it kind of breezes by and you're trying to remember what we talked about, you can go to rogo.com, ROGO.com. And we have all kinds of informational videos on there. We try to keep them between 8 and 12 minutes, kind of like this, short and sweet and to the point. So rogo.com, come check it out and let us know what you think. We're still working on it. We're trying to, develop it into something really cool for y'all. Dad, we also got a few questions.
Okay.
So this is from Nina. She wants to know, she says that we've advised her to convert from her IRA to her Roth in a fairly controlled, phased approach. Does COVID and this potential increase in taxes change that because they could increase sooner, or because they are going to increase? How might you assess your Roth conversions?
It's probably not going to be a when she says when you convert, you don't want to convert all of it at once, because then you'll be driving yourself into a higher tax bracket on the conversion. You want to convert within the headroom of your tax bracket. And for most people, I don't think COVID is going to make is a reason to panic and go and pay even higher taxes. But it does mean you want to watch it every year and convert. Everybody's a little different. So
well, if you're in the 22% bracket, and we know that's going to go to 25 later, it could make sense for you to fill up the 24%
could
bracket.
make sense for you to fill up the 24. You also get into the point where you start driving up the cost of your Medicare supplement. And that's another moving piece that comes in. That's why people need us, because there's a lot of moving parts, and that's where having a good plan can help. And you should have, whether us or someone else, having someone that sat there and looked at your taxes can really help.
Mm-hmm. Well, we also we find that, especially if you have a large amount of your assets in IRAs, it's kind of how much pain can you take right now. People hate paying more in taxes, so it's psychologically how much can you handle.
If you want to have fun, go back and look at last week when I teach you how to pay the most in taxes. When you see that, you'll understand why you want to do something now. Because boy, it's like by trying to reduce the amount you pay, you usually end up paying more. Mm-hmm. I'd say I also see Becky and
I think
David.
Becky has a great question.
Yeah.
Doesn't your tax bracket drop when you quit working?
It often does. That's why you put money into an IRA while you're working. But sometimes when you retire, you may have a window where your taxes are lower and you can actually use those you can actually pay taxes at the lower rate. Mm-hmm. A lot of times though, people find out that they're not in as low a bracket when they retire as they think. Their deductions go away, the kids go away.
Yeah, oftentimes you want to maintain the same lifestyle that you had.
Yeah, if you retire successfully, you may be paying the same amount of taxes.
And when you turn 72, depending on the size of your IRA, you're going to have to take your required minimum distributions, which could also, lock you into a certain tax bracket. Okay. And then that becomes even more important if you become single, if your spouse is deceased, or because then you're taking the RMDs on all of the amount. So it really just depends on those specific situations.
And just want a shout out to, I think, Lanny and Lisa, and I think we got Miranda already. Michael's here, and Patricia, Becky, Jean,
Susan,
Marcy,
Darlene, and Pat. Oh.
Now a couple of things, Sam. Do we know what we're talking about next week?
Well, I do. A question that we get a lot is about life insurance. Why would somebody who's retired or about to be retired need life insurance? And we've touched on it briefly here and there, but September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. So we're going to take a chance to answer your questions and tell you why life insurance may be appropriate for a retiree.
Yeah, there's a lot of, the life insurance industry's become kind of interesting because they're now, to some extent, replacing the long-term care industry, some of the new products and things. And so at least a way to judge, is it the thing you should do? What's the advantages? It's not for everybody, but there are some really good strategies there for some people. So that'll be a fun one to do next week.
If you're concerned about long-term care or legacy planning for your children and grandchildren, or possibly reducing your taxes or reducing the taxes that you pass on to your children.
There is a really cool way, instead of converting to a Roth, you convert to a life policy and get more money for yourself in retirement without all the restrictions that a Roth has. So there's and you get long-term care in there to boot. There's some neat stuff, and we'll talk about that.
Absolutely. And Tallulah's joined us.
Hey, Tallulah.
Lula, I hope that you and your husband are enjoying Georgia and having a great time there. We do miss you up here, though it's, we're not seeing a lot of people these days, so you're as close as ever. But
it must be time. Sam has the hat. What is it time for?
It is my favorite time. It is our time to do our weekly wine giveaway. And for those of you who don't know or who are not entering, each week we raffle off 2 bottles of wine. I used to be a wine rep and work in the wine industry in my previous life. So we're not sending you bad bottles of wine. We will send you good bottles of wine directly to your door. All you have to do to enter is throughout the week, send us a question. Send us a question, a potential topic, and honestly, you could even reply to an email or send us an email saying, enter me in the wine drawing, and we will be happy to enter you.
Or even
Love
better,
giving away
recommend us to a friend and say, hey, you got to come to their happy half hour, and just email us and tell us you did that. That'll be a qualification too.
Yes, so we would love to give away bottles of wine to you. So, and you'll have to excuse me, I don't have my hat. So I'm using my trusty Tar Heel cooler, Go Heels. Okay. So this week, our winner is Barb. And Barb, you can decide if you want to share with Dan. You don't have to tell him you won. You can keep them to yourself, but you can tell us if you want to share. But congratulations, Barb. And I know that they've been entering most every week, I would say. I've definitely written your name down in my hat. So congratulations.
And so with that, it's about 5 o'clock. We like to keep it to half an hour. We'll cover the ins and outs of life insurance and all the cool things that have come up in the last few years. And if you are a guest and you'd like to know more or talk to us, just there's all kinds of phone numbers and links you can get into, and you can set up a 15-minute phone call with Sam and I and just chat. It's been fun, and gosh, we will see you next Thursday, 4:30 for happy half hour. Everybody,
Cheers.
cheers.
Happy Little Friday.
Bye-bye.